Again, my name is Charles Riotto, and I'm president of the International Licensing Industry Merchandisers Association, more commonly known around the world as LIMA. We are the global trade organization for the licensing industry. We are based in New York, but we have offices around the world. And our main mission is to provide information, education, networking opportunities, and any other services that can help bring people together, can help increase information and knowledge of the industry, and increase the professionalism of licensing around the world. I'll give you just a very few minutes background about myself, and then I'll introduce our panelists. I've been with LIMA for 16 years. And when I started with the organization, we were primarily a US-based business. Most of the world's licensing was done in the United States. But during that time, we've seen tremendous growth in markets outside the US. In fact, the four major licensing markets right now, the US, Japan, Germany, and the UK, have been relatively flat as far as sales of licensed merchandise over the past several years. Despite that, the industry has grown significantly, and we are now an estimated $189 billion worldwide industry. And most of that growth over the last several years has come from international markets. When I speak to my members about where they see their growth coming from, in almost every case, India is mentioned as a potential market for growth in the coming years. So this is certainly a primary market, and there's some outstanding opportunities for people based here who understand how the industry works and are knowledgeable about licensing and what the benefits are. So I think there are tremendous opportunities for you to get to learn the business, because as I said, there are many companies who want to get established here, who understand they need knowledgeable local people to help them grow their business. So I hope you'll find this conference today and tomorrow to be useful to you, and that you'll consider licensing as a potential lucrative opportunity. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce my panelists. I'm very pleased to have Mr. Antti Orling, who is Country Director of India for Rovio Entertainment, Angry Birds, and I'm sure you'll recognize the logo on his jersey. I'd also like to introduce Mr. Samir Jain, who's Director of Green Gold Animation. Thank you, gentlemen. And Rob, would you like to join us as well? Mr. Rob Ritter, who's partner of Bradford Licensing. Originally, his colleague, Michelle Maneri, was going to join us, but unfortunately, she was unable to be here. So what I'd like to do first is to invite our panelists to give us a few minutes of background of their business and where they see their opportunities in the future. So I'd like to start with Antti. Can you talk a little bit about Rovio's business? We need a microphone. Here we go.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, good afternoon all. Few words about Angry Birds and Rovio, which you might know as a game which started 2009. This game started a tiny little company in Finland. At that time had already launched 51 games from 2002 onwards. And it went a very painful downsizing exercise through early 2009, where it just shrank to mere 16 people, and then they launched Angry Birds. Now we're nearly 1,000 people. We're probably the fastest growing consumer franchise in the world. Have about 1.7 billion downloads of Angry Birds games. Last March, the company launched something we call Angry Birds Toons, which you can directly access within the game. We have now over 1 billion views on Angry Birds Toons, which are, cartoons of 2 and 2.5 minutes long. It's a perfect snack-sized consumption thing. In the futures screen number 1, if you think about where people spend most of their times today, is on their mobile devices more than television. I know India is very heavily a TV country still, but it's moving rapidly towards bringing the mobile and pads to become the first screen. Now, I could talk about gaming and gaming industry, but we don't actually consider ourselves to be a gaming industry player. We consider us to be an entertainment and media company. And I have a good reason of saying that as well. We're far more than just a game. We're, I think, typically a 4-quadrant player. We're male, female, fairly evenly, worldwide 49-51. We have all age groups represented. A good testament of that was a journalist last week interviewing us here, and he told us, and put it in his article as well, that he told his mother is going to come and see Angry Birds. And mother said, oh, I know them very well. She's never played the game, but she knows us. So I think looking at that from that point, that's what we are trying to do, that's what we're doing. So over and beyond the traditional licensing opportunities, we're looking into properties such as activity parks, which we already launched somewhere, for example, like in China and elsewhere in Europe. We are into soft drinks. We're into other consumables. We are in learning. We're already launched something we call Playground, which is a preschool learning method. Its curriculum comes from Finland, where the brand is also originally from. And so all this makes us, I think, a bit more approachable. So my word for you would be that we're looking to partner with anybody with great creativity, high focus on quality, and opportunity to scale the business together with us. So that's sort of my pitch.
Okay, thank you very much. Angry Birds is certainly one of the great success stories in licensing over the past few years. And as Antti said, it's almost impossible to find somebody who has not heard of Angry Birds. And in fact, Angry Birds was the winner of the Lima License of the Year a few years ago. So again, it certainly has been a tremendously successful new property. Next, I'd like to ask Samir if you can give us some background on your company and its licensing activities.
Thanks so much, and good afternoon, everybody. Very briefly about Green Gold, we are an animation studio started by Rajiv, my partner, and our core business is production of content and own IP, and that was what was running for the last 6-7 years, and we've had now about 5 shows running parallelly across various channels, all on Cartoon Network, Pogo, Disney, Hangama. We started diversification into our merchandising business somewhere around 2008. We got into publication and started with comic books, which grew consistently over the years. And then 2009, we got into the home video segment. Somewhere in 2010, our merchandising business really took a swing upwards, and we've added a lot of product categories like apparels and back to school, and most of these products we used to do on our own. We were not very sure about the licensing route though. While we were interested in licensing also, we were parallelly studying how does the licensing business work while we were doing our own production of merchandise and distributing it across. Around 2011 is when we thought that yes, now we are in a shape to get into licensing, and that's where we seriously got into licensing. And in the last, I think, around 2 years, we have done about 100 plus brand associations. And our approach to the whole business of licensing is basically we look at customizing each product category. We try and understand the psyche of the consumer, the strengths of the licensees in terms of the variety they can think of, in terms of creative inputs we can provide to them, in terms of the distribution strength. it has to be a win-win situation both for the licensor and the licensee as well, because it's very important to factor that a licensee who's buying a license from you, he's going to invest a hell of a lot of efforts and money into your brand. So we do a lot of back-end support to a licensee in terms and ensure that he does well and goes through the whole success story of doing a successful licensing deal with us. We've also got into retail. We started a chain of green gold stores on a franchisee model, which where we have now about 27, 28 stores up and running, and another 10, 15 stores coming up across India. So now what happens is that it's a whole ecosystem wherein we do a content production, we do our own merchandising, we do licensing, and then we also have our own stores. It's a one-stop shop. So a licensee also gets to market his products through our stores. And the target segment is pretty much aware that if I need a Chota Bheem product, if I need a Mighty Raju product, I need to go to this store, and I know the latest product would be available there, whether it's a comic book, DVD, apparel, back to school, whatever, toys, games. So the journey so far has been very nice. We've been quite successful in terms of numbers, in terms of number of products. We have now about 3,500 SKUs into the market, covering almost right from food, cosmetics, various categories. I mean, sometimes we forget the kind of products we're doing. But yeah, it's been an enjoyable journey, and thanks everybody for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's find it very interesting about the retail component. Rob, I'd like to ask you if you'd like to join in, and I know Bradford's been in the Indian market for quite a while now, so if you can give us a little bit of background on what you're doing and what your experiences have been.
Well, first off, would like to thank Lima. I'm a twofer. I was 3 days ago in the Lima show in London, and so I am hoping someday that we will have a whole plane of people who are in the London show coming to the India show. Now, 3.5 years ago, Michelle Maneri, our president, came and spoke, and there was no room here. She spoke in the franchise room because there was no licensing as a complete, and there was one representative from Lima. Today, I am so excited to be here. I want to thank all of the people who have been helpful in putting together this wonderful presentation. And Bradford License India would also like to thank our partner, which is Garaf Mara, and of course Franchise India. They have a little bigger studio next door, but someday we'll get bigger than they are. And so really all I want to do is come and say thank you and participate on the panel, because I'll give you a big picture. Don't ask me for anything specific.
Okay, fair enough. You know, as I mentioned to you before, when I speak to my members around the world, in almost every case they'll mention India as a target market where they see great opportunities for growth. But one of the comments I almost always get is when they talk about India, they say, yes, but we find the retail infrastructure there very difficult to deal with. It's mostly, individual shops, and it's very difficult to get distribution or widespread distribution across the country. Samir, I thought your comments were very interesting that apparently you're doing your own retail. But I wonder if Auntie and Robert can talk a little bit about how you found the retail distribution, if it's challenging for you here, or if you found ways to deal with it.
Okay, if I start, I mean, you're quite right there. The structure is what it has been for a long while. I don't think it's as such challenging if you look at the sort of underlying currents and trends. Now, for us, obviously, with Angry Birds, we're looking at the sort of growth through digital domain also. So the explosive growth of smartphones, 55 to 60 million this year, some say 120 million at the end of next year, is a tremendous opportunity for many digital domain products as well. However, if you go then to the physical world, I would say the underlying growth as the so-called middle class is really supporting a big structural change which is happening. Now, obviously, the emerging of a lot of shopping malls and others like that, not only in tier 1 cities but elsewhere as well, is helping that. You can't deny the fact that it's not as straightforward as it would be in some other markets. You don't really have partners that you can walk in and say, yes, I can cover 1,000 outlets of my own, or I have this or that. But I think it still gives a lot of opportunities, and in the opportunities in the potential. And I think that is just something that you have to embed in your business plans, and you take it from that. You don't try to jump over something that is not doable with one jump. Sure.
I think one of the things we found most helpful was to understand that there is an Indian way of doing business, and it was our responsibility to work within that framework. And by doing that, we have found that there are opportunities, as you said, in the malls, in the shop-in-shops, in all the different places. We just have to say we are going to coordinate with the existing patterns. Now, mind you, it is not like being in Memphis, Tennessee. It is different. It's different than being in England or being in France. This is India, and we are doing it the way the Indians are doing it and working inside that system, because there are many, many very successful entrepreneurs, and we enjoy working with them. And so it's not so much changing it, it's moving into it and accommodating to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I definitely agree with you about the entrepreneurial spirit here in India. It seems to be very, very strong, and I certainly urge you to continue and hold on to that, because that certainly is one of the keys to success in licensing. Now, all of you represent very successful properties, and I'm sure a number of the people in the audience here are manufacturers of different products who are looking for opportunities in licensing. So just like to throw it open to whoever wants to take the question. What do you look for in a manufacturer, a potential licensee? What qualities are there? Is it based basically or solely on the type of product? What manufacturing capabilities do you look for, or anything else that would help you make a decision whether to go with a particular company or not?
You know, it all revolves around the product, which needs to be licensed, or a product category. And obviously the thought process would start with the strengths of a prospective licensee, how good or how strong he has his own manufacturing or outsourcing for that matter, how good he is. Typically, if he has a history behind him of producing the product successfully, maintaining certain quality standards, timelines, and I think one of the other key factors is his passion about the product. We do find that it's just not about machines and making a product and doling out and selling through. There needs to be a certain amount of passion to a product, whatever it is. It may be a T-shirt or a board game. And the guy, we do find many people, you know, they're so very much integrated into their products that while developing a product, the kind of involvement and the kind of nitty-gritties, detailing they do, these are certain things we would always want to see, just not mere numbers and things like that. Distribution side, yes, their existing network, how good they have a reach in terms of the In India, typically the traditional mom and pop stores distribution model, are they connected with the MBOs? Have they presence and relationship with most of the modern trades? That's another key factor. These points are the key ones we do look at a prospective licensee.
Okay. Any comments?
Yeah, I think that's quite well covered. I think from our point of view, the quality obviously is something we want to bring a quality experience to our fans. So that goes without saying. Especially, but being here and looking at in the Indian context, I would challenge also what we're really looking is creativity. I mean, who says that we've just found we might have tens of thousands SKUs licensed out there, but not most of those are relevant here. And what we're looking here is creativity. That creativity that unlocks the potential to tap into the fan base of hundreds of millions of Indians who are fans of Angry Birds. So I really urge the creativity in all of these discussions. We have a dedicated team, worldwide team, looking at and then looking at those options and developing them further and giving really good support in that respect. But the creativity of what could be interesting. You look at the brand, you know the brand, what we stand for, and how could we bring that excitement? And I think the latest, when we had with Hasbro was a huge one with the telepods in the Angry Birds Star Wars 2, where you can actually take a little object and that little momentum, and it has some memory, it has memorabilia value for you as well. You can then put it onto the game whilst you're playing it, and it reads a little tiny QR code in the bottom of that character, whether it's Chewbacca or whatever, and it jumps into the game. Now, that's a creativity in my mind. Of course, that's a big scale, but every sort of creativity, we're really urging everybody to come forth and present that to us.